British taxpayers' money being used to break up Britain. And I want to just talk about that because last time we were on, I showed a wee video about the man who's in charge of the civil service, which is a chap called Simon Case. He's a cabinet minister. He's called the Cabinet Secretary, and he's in charge of the British civil service, of which the branch in Edinburgh is part. And it's Simon Case and his buddies who sit around that cabinet table who have the power to make the new law and get it through Parliament. And they've been sniffing about and complaining recently about it. And when Simon Case was asked about this by Lord Keane in the video that we showed a couple of weeks ago, it was Simon Case's main concern to ensure the quote-unquote impartiality of the civil service. He said, "I will consult with the Civil Service Commission about it because, to come back to the rather important point that flows through all this, we all want to protect the integrity and impartiality of our civil service." Well, yeah, the impartiality and integrity of the civil service is an issue, I suppose, and if it can be shown that the civil service was actually siding with and being impartial because they all supported the SNP, then of course that would be a big issue that needed to be looked at. But that's not actually the main issue that runs through all of this, Mr. Case. The main issue that runs through all of this is UK taxpayers' money being spent to break up the United Kingdom. That's the first issue. The second issue is UK taxpayers' money being spent on a reserved matter anyway, because the Constitution and the Union is reserved. So these are two big political and ethical matters that need to be addressed and have only become issues since the SNP took power in 2007, because hitherto that year there had never been a political party running a particular part of the United Kingdom that wanted to break up the United Kingdom. So it was only in 2007 when this issue arose. And of course, all the governments ever since then just ran away from it because they did not have the cojones to engage, to enjoin the fight, to stand up for the United Kingdom. And I was thinking about this the other day because for some reason a phrase came back to my mind, and it was back on the 9th of November 1990. In literally the dying days of the Margaret Thatcher administration, when the Secretary for Northern Ireland at the time, who was a man called Peter Brooke, he came out and said something so incredibly unpatriotic and indeed traitorous. He said, quote, that the British government has no selfish, strategic or economic interest in Northern Ireland. And that was 19 days before the Thatcher premiership ended and John Major took over. But think about that. No selfish, strategic or economic interest in Northern Ireland, which is to say no selfish, strategic or economic interest in maintaining the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. And so I wondered to what extent that was actually, that's something that we should always remember. I mean, does the British government take that attitude towards Scotland today? I'd like to think that it doesn't, but sometimes you could be forgiven for thinking that it takes that attitude, because since 2007, successive British governments have done sweet nothing to stop our taxpayers' money being used deliberately to break up our United Kingdom. So if they're doing nothing about it, you have to wonder, is it because they literally have no selfish, strategic or economic interest to do anything about it? And, one shies away from coming to those conclusions, but the logic is pretty clear in many cases. Now, I know what civil servants and politicians also do as well, is they hide behind this word impartiality, because if you can look at a situation like we've got here in Scotland and go, well, we're going to be impartial about it, what that means is, I'm not going to get into a fight about this. I'm just going to sit on the fence and claim impartiality, claim that this is the moral thing to do. We've got no selfish interest. We've got no economic interest on this. We'll just be impartial and we'll just sit on the fence and watch it all unfold. And so politicians and civil servants, they always do plead this impartiality because they simply don't want to get into a fight about stuff. And so let's also remember that, but let's encourage them to get into a fight about this. And it's very easily done, and all you need to do is stand up for the United Kingdom, and you need to bring in a new law. And as we always say, we've written the law, a law to stop the civil service pushing the Indy agenda, and it's here on page 13 of Do More Together, which is our magazine that you'll find. A 40-page magazine, 102 policies to keep the UK together. It's all in there.